My name is Samara Heaggans. At the time when I went to Hampton, it was Purdue, Samara Purdue Heaggans. I am originally from Enfield, Connecticut, small suburb north of Hartford in Connecticut. I majored in chemical engineering at Hampton. I graduated in 1991, Ogre Phi Ogre 7. Wow. Hampton it's always been a beautiful campus. In the 90s, I came on campus in 87. I started actually in the pre-college program for engineering students. So it was the summer of 87. I started there like literally a week and a half, 2 weeks after I graduated from high school for pre-college summer with all the other engineering students that had been admitted. There were about, I'd say, it was called the Keenan program at the time. It was totally different. I grew up in Connecticut at predominantly white high school of 1,600 students. And I'd say there was 1% or less Black students at my high school. And that included my brother and some cousins. Okay. So then I get to Hampton and it was a totally different world. And that was before the show A Different World came out. So when it did come out, we were all like, it's the greatest thing ever. We see ourselves reflected on TV. The Olin building had just been built, so it was brand new. We were the first class to go in and take classes in that building. At the time, it was state of the art. That was in the night. That was back then. It was really great. I loved Hampton. Of course, it was hot. It's in the summertime, it's hot. But Hampton had such a diverse population. I didn't even expect it. I expected Black people, yes. I didn't expect people from all different countries. I didn't expect people from all walks of life. It wasn't just Black people. It was people from Brazil. It was people from whatever African countries. It was people from Europe. Your professors were from everywhere. I had professors from Turkey, Nigeria. I think there was a Swedish professor who taught. And you were exposed to all the people from the military in the area who chose to go to Hampton because it was cheaper. So there were white people on our campus. People don't realize that. And for the most part, people were friendly. It's just like everywhere else you go. But it was so eye-opening for me to see people who were like me, like middle-class Black people. There were upper, rich people, which I had been exposed to before. I had not been exposed to that many in one place. Same thing with people from the inner city, people from the suburbs, people from the country. It was amazing. Your professors cared. It was completely, and they still do. I'm still very much in touch with the professors in the engineering department and the School of Engineering and Technology. And they cared whether you passed or not. If they saw potential, they followed up. And it wasn't just the professors. It was the people in the cafeteria, the dorm directors, the people who were cleaning up would ask, how you doing today, baby? You better pay attention to them lessons, that kind of stuff. The secretaries in the department. It was a family. And when they say Hampton hugs, Hampton love, it was a good thing. I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Hampton. There was a time and I tell people this story when I'm recruiting, when I'm talking about why I chose an HBCU. I was at the top of my class and in high school, and my test scores were they weren't perfect. They weren't high, but they were good. And I wanted to go to either MIT or Stanford. And my mother, who was from Birmingham, Alabama, and went to an HBCU. My father went to an HBCU. All my aunts and uncles went to HBCUs. She said, if I have to pay a dime for you to even call home, no matter where you go, if you get a full 100% scholarship, you're going to an HBCU. If I have to bring you home, if you have to call me, you're going to an HBCU. At the time, I thought she had ruined my life. I was not going to be up to my potential, as I knew I wanted to be an engineer. And then my junior year, I went on a bus tour, a church-sponsored bus tour of HBCUs. So I spent my entire spring break week, high school, junior year, on a bus tour with 40 other kids I did not know, going to almost a lot of the HBCUs up and down the East Coast, Hampton, all the way over to Tuskegee in Alabama and Florida. We went everywhere. We saw Howard, we saw Morgan, we saw all of them. And I got to Hampton's campus, and it's beautiful. It's on the water. And they had my major. They had all the extracurricular activities I wanted. And then the cues were stepping on the yard. And I was like, I'm home. This is where I belong. I love the ocean. I love the beach. It was 20 minutes from Virginia Beach. I was like, this is where I belong. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life. A coworker actually recently asked me, well, could you have even gotten into Stanford or MIT? And I was like, yes, I did have the grades for that, but I chose Hampton. Best decision I ever made. And honestly, I went to graduate school. I did choose Ivy League for grad school. I went to Johns Hopkins. I had a full fellowship based on my experience and what I learned at Hampton. I would put up a Hampton degree of engineering against any school out there because I have worked with those people. And we will come out just as good as, if not better, than any school out there, period. So that's how Hampton was. They cared. When I was acting up sophomore year, I decided I was going to go have me some fun. I got a job in the student union. I went to every party. By mid-semester, first semester, I was failing almost every class. And one of the things when I say Hampton cares, the dean of the School of Engineering and the secretary, I still remember this woman's name. Her name was Beverly Birdsong, Ms. Birdsong. She called my mother, unbeknownst to me, in Connecticut and told her, your daughter is acting up. And my mother showed up on Parents' Weekend to surprise me. And she was waiting for me in the dean's office. I got a call from class saying, you need to go to the dean's office. Your mother is here. I had to drop everything, all the outside extracurriculars I was doing, give up the job in the student union. And I ended up sitting at a tiny little desk next to Ms. Birdsong. They assigned me extra work without any credit for it. And I had to do work in the engineering office. That was my new work study job. And I don't think any other school would have ever done something like that. I got straightened out. I got in trouble. It was one of the most embarrassing things ever in my life. And honestly, 30 years later, I talked to Ms. Birdsong about it at the engineering school reunion that they had. And she said, honey, you had too much potential for me to let you run around and chase after them boys and not get your lesson. And I thanked her for that. And it surprised me because she said, you think you're the only one whose parents we had to call? No, siree, missy. We got you straightened out. We got a whole lot of others straightened out. And honestly, I have seen at other schools, at predominantly white schools, at Johns Hopkins, where I've mentored students and worked with the undergrads, they will let you fail out. They will let you just not, they'll take your money and then you'll be like, oh, you failed. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep it moving. Hampton did not do that. And I am very grateful to this day because of it. Yeah, like I said, they would not let us out until we knew that material front, backwards, because they always said we were a reflection of them. Our professors hammered that into us, that you're not getting out of here until you know this material, because you reflect us and you reflect this organization, this institution. And it wasn't just you're a reflection of everybody that's come before you. You are, it's expected. That standard of excellence is not just a motto that they put on the school logo. It means something. And honestly, everywhere I have worked, everywhere I've gone, it's not the coursework. It is not that it has never been an issue. I can handle whatever. Hampton prepares you in ways way more than just knowing your major when you get out. At the time, Hampton made us take speech communications. Every freshman had to take, or whoever, it was either freshman or sophomore year, you had to take speech communications. You had to know how to stand up, wear a suit, present yourself professionally, speak professionally, look someone in the eye, shake their hand. put your resume together, be able to do an interview without mumbling or saying the wrong thing. And I find a lot of students don't always have that. I am so grateful that Hampton made us do that. I know I can walk in any room. I've been asked to speak at conferences. I've been asked to speak in front of entire departments, 300-400 people. And because of what Hampton had us do and how they prepared us, I can walk up in front of any organization. It doesn't matter how many people are in that room, whether it's 10, whether it's 1,000, whether it's operators out on the floor and maintenance guys or CEOs. I've walked into that room and been able to present clearly, effectively, engagingly, not boring, just reading something off a slide because of the way Hampton prepared me. So one of the things I worked earlier in my career, I worked in a number of different areas and different industries. And then I tried almost everything, and I ended up in the food industry. I ended up working for Frito-Lay in Dallas, Texas. And I started off as just a project process engineer, installing equipment in their pilot plant, shift supervisor, and then I was in the research and development group. I was at Frito-Lay for just under 6 years. And one of the last projects, or one of the projects I worked on while I was there, was Tostitos Scoops. That project went through at least 4 different iterations. I'd worked on it in 4 different time frames. And the last time frame, there was 10 of us on the team. We were able to actually make a Tostitos Scoop successfully, start up the first line at the very first plant and get it running. And I ended up, of the 10 people on the team, 3 of us got patents. I was one of them. And I got a patent I was on a team that launched design. I did the process development for Tostitos Scoops. And that product is probably one of their top selling products out on the market. It's been out there. I left Frito-Lay in 2000. I think that launched in either 99. Actually, I left at the December 2000. And so it was either 99, 2000 that we launched that product. Nobody has been able to duplicate what we did. You won't see, unless someone does something amazing, another Tostitos Scoops. You'll see different types of potato chips or different types of chips where people copy them and another company makes them. You won't see that with Tostitos Scoops because of the technology, because of the engineering that we put into it, and because of all the patents that we locked up on it. So yes, I have a patent for Tostitos Scoops. That's my claim to fame. I helped create and make and market Tostitos Scoops. Always give 110%. Always do your absolute best and treat people with respect. I don't know if that was ever actually stated, but it was an expectation. You show up and you do your absolute best. You do not give 50%. You don't have the luxury of giving 50%. You do your best always. Another nugget I learned was it's about relationships. It's about how you treat people, how you show up, and how you give back. I think there's an expectation that, yes, you're going to go out, you're going to be successful, but for you to truly be successful, you have to bring other people with you. You need to not just keep all the knowledge to yourself, share it with others. So I know a lot of times you get into corporate America, and Hampton was such an amazing, incredible experience that you will not experience. If you go to an HBCU, you will not experience that type of atmosphere, that type of environment anywhere else in this country. So you kind of want to hold on to that and find that other places, but not everybody went through that. So Hampton taught us, bring other people with you. Teach them, bring them up, bring them in, establish a recruiting program to get more of us there in those positions where we can reach back and help others, not just people from Hampton, from any HBCU. And I think that sense of community, that sense of environment, that sense of, yeah, you're struggling, let me help you out. I see you, let me help you, without necessarily requiring something of the person. You can help someone, and it will be paid back to you one way or another, not necessarily from that person. but there's an expectation that you should be there to help others, especially those who look like you. Oh, wow. A ton. Actually, one of the things that is bittersweet for me is that Tostitos Scoops patent, because when you work for another company or a company, especially in research and development, the day you come in, you sign an intellectual property agreement, which means I do not own anything. And you sign that patent over to the company when you leave or while you're still there. So they own all of that. So I did not get rich. I did not get any percentage of the profits from Tostitos Scoops. So people are like, oh, wow, that's so great. It is great. I did some amazing work, but I did not get paid for it. If you have an amazing idea, I would say go ahead, take the chance and develop it on your own. Launch it on your own and make that your business, honestly. I do have another patent. After I worked for Frito-Lay, I worked for Campbell Soup. Same thing. I did not had to sign the patent over. Whether they use it or not, it's theirs. If you have a great idea, do it on your own. Another nugget I'd say is sometimes your path isn't always clear cut. Sometimes it's more of a process of elimination and figuring out what you actually like by doing the things you don't like and having enough confidence and courage to say, you know what, I don't like this industry. I worked in oil and gas. I worked in pharmaceuticals. I worked in basic research at some really great places, huge, well-known organizations, but they weren't for me. So knowing what I did not like and knowing I'm not going to sit here and be miserable, I'm doing some good work, but I can't do this every day, really moved me into food and into the food industry, where I was able to just grow by leaps and bounds and learn a lot. I tell people to reach out to others. If you see somebody doing something you want to do, ask them to be your mentor. Ask them if you could shadow them for a day or just take them out to lunch and, pick their brain for a little while and figure out, how do I learn what I need to learn? It's not always set up for you. It's not always going to be a formal mentoring program, or the mentor they pair you with may not be a good fit. Keep trying, keep pushing, and find a way. Make your own path, even in an organization. Sometimes if the job you want doesn't exist, you have to create it. It's going to be 3 words. My Hampton is Black excellence, and my Hampton is home. Hampton is truly my home by the sea. When I get off at that exit and I see the school and the waterfront, I feel like I am at home, and that is where I will always belong. I just automatically feel comfortable there. The Black excellence is because when you're on that campus, you feel it. You look around and you see people, beautiful Black people doing their thing, learning and being the best they can be. And it's not an exception thing. It's not, oh, that's the only one. It's everybody. Everybody is good. Everybody is, and it's expected. And that's what Hampton is to me. And that's what Hampton taught me. Growing up in a predominantly white environment, I was the only one in AP classes. I was the only one who did certain things. When you get to Hampton, you realize there are so many more of us who are just as capable, and we are good at what we do, and we don't have to apologize for it. You can be good at sports, you can be good at academics, you can do it all, plus the extracurriculars, and not be seen as this unicorn. Everybody at Hampton was like that. We're not one of a kind. That's what we're expected to do, so we do it, and we're all that good. I live in Philadelphia, the greater Philadelphia area. I live right outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs. The company I'm working with now is Do Good Foods. It's a startup where we're the first of its kind to take upcycled leftover food from grocery stores, meat and produce. And I helped develop the process and the equipment, and we built our first manufacturing plant. We grind it up, put it through our process, dry it, feed that to our contracted growers. They grow chickens. It's chicken feed. They process those chickens and sell them back to the same stores under the brand name Do Good Chicken. And our whole motto is good for plate and planet. So we are saving material from going to landfills, which also saves the grocery stores. I believe on average, it's about $1.2 million per store that they pay to send stuff to landfills. We take that material from them. It's perfectly good food. You can eat it. We keep it cold. It's not moldy or rancid. We grind it up and we make a nutrient-dense, high protein, high fat, dried shelf-stable powder that could be fed to animals, any type of animal, and it's healthier for them, keeps material from going to landfills, and it reduces the greenhouse gases on the planet. So I am our first manufacturing plant, which I have been here since the very beginning and helped to build, install the equipment, commission it, and get it up and running, is located right outside of Philadelphia in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. And we've honestly just started, we've signed leases on 2 more facilities in North Carolina and Indiana. It's exciting. It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy. It's a lot of change. It's not corporate where there's a lot of structure. It's a lot of changing at the drop of a dime. So it's a different type of environment, very fast paced, very, oh, this didn't work. What are we going to do? And you have to go do the research. You have to wear a lot of hats. When I started, I was employee number 8. And they didn't even have a lab. I created the first lab, and we worked out of that. And then COVID hit. I ended up having to bring the equipment home and working out of my kitchen at home. Then we created the first pilot plant in North Dakota. So during half of COVID, I was flying back and forth to North Dakota. Not fun in the wintertime, by the way. Then we got this plant up and running, and I'm starting this up. But I've had to be purchasing and quality and you name it, sanitation. And now we've hired people, and we're at almost 120 employees. And I can, offload some of those responsibilities because we've hired people to do those jobs. So it's exciting. It's different. It's a lot of work. I truly loved and appreciated my time at Hampton. There were so many things I learned there, but that is just the starting point. That is the very first step. Once you graduate, there's still so much to learn. Once I went to grad school, I went to corporate America, and that's the stepping point, but they gave me such a solid foundation that you can continue to learn. You should always continue to learn. You should always, and I'm thankful for what Hampton taught me, for the foundation, for the experience. Hampton gave me a confidence that I do not see in other people, other students who did not go to HBCUs. And at first I did expect that everybody would love me as much as I was loved at Hampton. Wrong. That is not the real world. And when people are out there and they say, well, that's not the real world, you have your entire life to live in the real world in this country. Go to an HBCU, go to Hampton, and get that experience where you feel that comfort, that level of home, that level of excellence, so you can at least experience it once in this world, in this life. And it will make all the difference in the world in every other aspect of your life.